Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the new season. It's good to be back, and it's good to have everything once again back at the racetrack. My name is Ben Sapsford. Tonight I'll be your guide, and it looks like Season 11 is about to get into full swing. Now, before we say anything, it's good to see everyone in the chat. It's good to see some familiar faces once again, and it's really a privilege to be once again commentating on the Tuesday Night Championships, as I do love these. They're the highlight of my week, and they are without a doubt some of the best racing action that you can get around. And if this is your first time here, then all I can say is welcome. Hope you enjoy the show, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing, liking the stream if you like a intense round of racing, and a lot to look forward to. And what we have to look forward to is a whole new season, whole new set of entrants, and a lot of different racers that we will have to, of course, be seeing at their best. Now, we have got a lot to talk about today, folks. Now, we have got some familiar faces, of course, at the top end of things. We have got a lot of different cars, but we have also got some new faces who we will no doubt have a chance to give an individual spotlight to as we go through the running order here today. The drivers are just going through free practice, and we will join them trackside for qualifying, but you can see we have a 20-strong grid for the gold class of cars out here this evening, and then following that, it is a 20-strong grid for silver as well. Now, it is worth mentioning that it is the first round of the season. There are going to be some change arounds. There are going to be a couple of adjustments here and there just to make sure that everyone is in the right place and everyone is in their accurately paced match forms. So if you do see a driver who switches, let's say, between silver and gold, it can happen. We do have a bit of an adjustment, a bedding in period. Drivers do perform initial benchmarks and qualifying ahead of the season, but of course things can change. You might have a setup breakthrough, you might have a breakthrough in your confidence of your driving, or you might have just had an off day during the quali. So there is a couple of chances that drivers may jump around a little bit, but we've got 20 strong grids on bronze and, or say, in gold and silver. Bronze is in a 16 strong grid, but it's no less of a tightly packed field out there today, and we have got a grand total of 45 cars trackside as we're about to conclude free practice. But that's where things are going to be pretty interesting. Judging on track space, it's always a bit of a challenge, but luckily we do have our split qualifying format, and for the end, again, those who are new, we do have a 20-minute qualifying where the first 10 minutes are dedicated for bronze and silver class drivers, and then the final 10 minutes are dedicated for gold class drivers only. We get a bit of a split of the field, the track opens up a bit, and that way we get to see everyone at their fine form and at their absolute best. But we have got ourselves a 8-round season here, folks. So this is going to take us right up to December. We start tonight, and we start Season 11 with SPA Francorchamps. I think arguably one of the best season openers in terms of tracks you can get. It's fast, it's frenetic, it's the longest track of the calendar, and it's a bombastic opening to what should hopefully be another great season. Then you've got Mount Panorama, another absolutely legendary track in its own right, for different reasons than for Spa, mainly for its technical challenge and its zero margin for error. And then it's a double header in Italy with Imola and Misano side by side with each other on the calendar, saving on those air miles before we head back to Belgium as we go into the second half with Zolder. Then it's the Red Bull Ring, and finishing in the United States with Watkins Glen and Circuits of the Americas to finish. So quite an eclectic selection of tracks there, folks. Now, it is a bit of a shorter season because we don't want to cross the season over into 2026, and we have enough time for a short 8-round season that gives us a bit more chance for everyone to go racing. But before we join the tracks and before we join the racers down there on the asphalt, just a moment for everyone to say thank you. Whether you are a seasoned veteran of SIMSeniors here, or if this is an early showing for you, if this may be your first race, If this is your sort of first time seeing the stream, best of luck to any of and all of the drivers who are on the track right now, and everyone joining us. We hope you have a good time here as well. And if you do like what we do, there are means to support us, be that through the socials, be that through, say, support, say, Patreon, etc., and eventually Facebook, as well as our Discord server if you want to get involved yourself. But let's actually go trackside, and let's actually see what these racers have got in store for us. Spa, it is a track that needs very little introduction, but we're going to give it some anyway. 7.004 kilometers, arguably one of the highest variations in altitude in any motorsports circuit there is, and quite the roller coaster to boot. You've got the bus stop chicane, La Source, Eau Rouge, Raidillon. You've got the, say, iconic corners and sections like Pouhon, and then we will, of course, see everyone fighting it out. Key points of combat are going to be heading into No Name and out of Pouhon as well, heading into Sector 3, and then through Blanchimont into the bus stop chicane. Heavy braking zone, that's where you're going to be seeing a lot of trackside combat. But enough of that now, because we're about to go hot with the racers, and we're about to see everyone go 110%. It's only fair we do that with our bronze and silver class drivers first time out, and it's going to be leading the pack. It's going to be Chris Wilson, returning in his Aston Martin from last season. Driver who had a good run of form overall, but he's certainly going to be looking at trying to push the envelope a little bit further this season. He's in silver, so he was slap bang in the middle of the order last time. He was 7th place in the silver class in Season 10. And he's going to be looking to try and get an improvement, because he could have had a P5 on the table if not for penalties. That's going to be the linchpin for him this season, and that's hoping to get improvement for him. We've got Damien Reid, who I believe has switched over to the Aston as well. Going to be running in the silver class also. Everyone is going to be making a run now here. So Reid was running from the Lexus last season. You remember he was the sole Lexus on the field. He has dropped to silver, as he did struggle with form towards the latter end of Season 10. But hopefully this is a nice strong grid that he'll be able to really show and flex his muscles, because his downfall was never the on-track pace. It was, I think, the consistency. He had flashes of brilliance, but then he wasn't able to always hold it. But hopefully you get to see that improvement over the course of this season, with him getting a bit more of a chance to fight towards the front. Looking a bit further down, we have Nick Coulin, who is running a solid black McLaren. That is not a livery error. I have got it confirmed by the organisers. Everyone's livery should be showing as intended, and if not, please do let us know. But Coulin in the matte black, or semi-gloss black, McLaren 720S. They're making a bit of an appearance for this season, a fresh appearance here. As well as Alex North returning in his classic Aston. We've also got Rich Arscombe behind, making no change to his car. We've got Wayne Bowler, who is a fresh entrance here in the 296 GT3. So he's going to be settling himself quite comfortably into silver, and this is going to be an unproven talent. So hopefully we'll see what becomes of his season as time progresses. There have been a few change rounds. I've noticed that a lot of drivers have actually switched around their cars as well. So this is certainly something that is going to be a bit of a question mark over the season. There's a lot of drivers who previously were in certain vehicles and have got quite an affinity for certain vehicles, have now decided to turn the tables and switch things up a little bit. Take Craig Morrison, for example, we're on board with now. He was in the McLaren, has been in the McLaren for a long time, but he's taken this opportunity to switch to the BMW. So we'll have to, of course, wait and see. We can only wait and see as we find out exactly what this will mean for his season. First times coming across the board, though. It's a 219 from Chris Wilson. Damien Reid with a 218.3. And then Nick Coulin goes one further with a 217.315. So first benchmarks now making their way through. Let's jump aboard Paul Murray as he comes into the bus stop chicane. First 5 cars across the start-finish line, and already looking like the time to beat is a mid to low 2:17. If you want to get a competitive time in this class, which means that the gold drivers are going to be looking at 16s, potentially high 15s, if such a thing is possible for them. There's going to be a couple of invalidations as well to be careful of. So Murray, 43rd right now, and has not got a validated time. A lot of drivers have got to be careful of those track limits, particularly coming out of Puon. It's very easy to get too much on the throttle and actually outrun yourself into the corner. We can see Anil Thiersen, strong competitor coming out of the bronze class last season, and once again in the bronze for this one. He's a 2:21.7, so the pace isn't quite there yet, but this is still warm time to get the tyres warm. He's got 4 minutes left yet to set another time, so realistically he could get about 2 more runs in. If he just stays out now, he could get 2 more runs in here. Meanwhile, Nick Coolan on absolute fire right now. He's almost an entire second clear of Derek Hall, who's in second place, 2:18.2. And in that McLaren, he's getting a little bit backed up, as it looks like he's stuck behind Morrison while on a hot one. But Coolan is continuing to bring his margins down. He's 0.2 of a second up on his previous lap time. The deltas are looking good for this McLaren. Looks like he could be pushing even into the 16s if he can nail the bus stop chicane. So he comes up to the 2-minute mark, quick on the brakes all the way down into first gear. Use a little bit of engine braking, that extra resistance to just get that car geared down and power out as quickly as you can. What's it going to be? Damien Reed gets a 2:17.8 and puts himself in second place, just ahead of the McLaren, who managed to get 17.1. He did lose a bit of time out of the bus stop, so this could stand to reason he will genuinely get that 16, as we are on the last couple of runs here for many cars. We've got Johan Teteru once again returning in his Ferrari. Teteru had a bit of an interesting season last time out. He didn't really get the performance he was hoping for, as he finished P15 of 17 in the season. So he's certainly going to want to up that this time round, and they got a lot of chances to do so. As he comes through to 2:22.1. I think the confidence was his biggest undoing. It's just the lack of confidence behind the wheel. I think that really did undo him at points. John Aid is going to come across the line next up, just behind Thiersen, who is about to cross and has got a couple of other cars who are vying for the same space on track. Thiersen gets a 2:20.2. And Aid is a 2:20.1. He's just going to leapfrog him out of that danger zone at the back of bronze. Our last couple of runs here are going to be staged up as we're into the final 90 seconds of this quali set before, as you know, and as we explained, it's time to let the gold class cars come through. Good to see some returning faces. We've got the Smiths and also a couple of other racers who are making a return here. So Serrano is going to be returning. He's down to silver for this season, having finished towards the back end of the field in gold last time out. 2:18.2 for the Beamer. So he stayed in the same car. He has confidence in that platform. Was coming out of qualification, it was a very tightly contested field for gold certification, I will say. In speaking with the organisers and a couple of chats that I've heard around the paddock, there was a very, very fine margin between gold and silver in particular. That end of the field is very tightly contested. There's a couple of cars heading into the pits as they have abandoned previous runs. For example, Iro got no better than 11th and has returned to the pits, so he will not get a chance to go again. But many racers are going to be consolidating their runs and getting a final stock of the board. Paul Murray jumps himself up into 6th place as Pedro Serrano gets him into 3rd with a 2:17.7. Coolan and Hall are both in the pits, so they are going to hope that no one is able to undercut their top position finishes in quali. There's half a second improved from SIMSeniors, and we will see the last runs coming through, as now you may be able to see it on that track map, but it's time, as many more cars are going to be flooding onto this circuit. That's right, it's gold class time, and it's time to see who we've got to work with at the sharp end of the field, as the last cars from bronze and silver are now making their way in. You can see Lenatus, interestingly, has switched away from his Audi. Used to him in the Audi R8. He's kept that iconic Karate livery, but he switched to the Nismo for this season. So I wonder what the impetus was for that decision, as Serrano is round the wrong way. We do have also in the Wolfpack side of things, they're no longer all running the Mustang, but we've seen quite a bit of car variation. Take, for example, Wolfslenner, of course, one of the fighters in the mix for the championship and gold last season, backing up his teammates, the likes of Guillemard, who, on that note, is sticking with the Mustang, and why not? It won you a championship last season, my friend, so why choose anything else? There, Guillemard, 307 points last season, so 11 points clear of Lindblom, the defending champion. The crown was officially passed over, and Lindblom, sticking with his NSX, sticking to his guns, is going to be vying to retake the title this season, of course. We'll see a couple of new entrants as well. Loris Wiggle. You can see Weaving trying to get some temp into that Nismo's tyres. So with a very nice purple livery to boot, the 317 joins us for the first time in the gold class and is hoping to make a bit of a splash. So you have a league owner Colin McNair staying with his Nismo, and third in class last season. He's going to hopefully try and bring that forward and see if he can contend for the title, because he's got the pace for it, and he did have, similar to many, those flashes of brilliance. He got 3 podiums last season. Just wasn't able to match the number of first place finishes that we saw from many in that cohort. But Guillemard is actually going to lead the first set of a gold class qualifiers. He got out ahead of traditional early starter Lenatus, so let's see what he's got in store. Darting his way right through, and immediately is going to be pushing to try and get a bit of just early advantage, because sometimes it is a mind game. If you can get a really strong early qualifying lap, then you will set yourself up very nicely and almost get into your opponent's heads a little bit. Yes, we do have a very large quantity of drivers here this season, and there are a lot of drivers joining us on the track, so it might get a little bit frenetic as we come to race day. 6.5 minutes left in qualifying now. You can see darting his way out into the third sector. Looking fairly clean from the Mustang so far, but yeah, I can see, I know where we made it a bit of a running thing that all the Wolfpack cars ran Mustangs and had variations in their sort of livery with different color palettes. Now it looks like they have really gone fully experimental. They have a solid base in the Mustang GT3, and now they're going to be switching it up a little bit. We've seen Ferrari. I believe there's also an Aston in Wolfpack trim on the field as well. Why am I thinking in football terms? But even so, let's see. And Guillemard immediately is going to be setting the tone with a 2:16.3. Low 16s are going to be the time to beat for gold. As we can see, here is one of the roster changes, or car changes, I should say. Patrick Larson making his way through in the Ferrari for the Wolfpack outfit. Number 230 makes his way up. Unfortunately, there's an invalidation, so no time here Sean O'Neill, I believe another new face to the competition. Going to come up to the line, and it's P23. It's a 2:18 right now. And let's see what Season 7 to 9's champion, David Lindblom, Season 10 runner-up, and hopefully looking to reclaim his title here. Let's see what he's got in the tank. He comes across the line, and it's P2. It's a 10th and a half away from Guillermo, so still looking like that fight is as hotly contested as ever. A season break has not deterred these two's fiery rivalry. But here we go. We can see the Aston Martin in Wolfpack trim now as well as the 231 of Holmberg. Gotta say, the livery department have surely been busy over the season break. But good to see some of the team support as well, to complement some of the fresh faces that we have joining us on the grid. I've got to say, very excited to see how Loris does here. It's Spa, it's a challenging track, it is a little bit of a trial by fire, 45 entrants. So this is about as challenging and chaotic of a scenario and of a season opener as you're going to get. So if there's any time to prove yourself, it's going to be here. If you can make it through here and get a good result, then you set yourself up for the rest of the season quite nicely, I think. Oh, Matthias does the Wolfpack designs. Okay, good to know. We've done an absolutely fantastic job. I say those who help with tuning, those who help with liveries, don't always get the spotlight shone on them. So this one goes out to the livery designers and everyone behind the scenes who back up the drivers and make it all possible. You can see here's Maximilian Grosges in the Husia Ferrari, interestingly. Gotta say, nice. I don't really see the Ferraris, or don't typically think of them with a grey base, but it actually works really nicely here. It actually does work really nicely with how they shape the car. Here we are, comes up to the line, and it looks like it's once again an invalidation. So hopefully we get to see some improvements. Guillermo is going to be pushing the envelope as he's managed to bring things down to a 215.9, but standing to gain potentially even further. He was flashing purple for a second. Let's see if he's able to push things just beyond that little fringe and get into the 15.8. He's 0.9 flat right now. So a lot rides on this. Even just a couple of milliseconds will push a major barrier. But Lindblom has returned to the pits. You can see on the timing tower. And that means that he is at best going to get P2 to start. He's not got enough time to go out again. Also, two main championship rivals from last season, and looking to continue that fight well into this one. Let's see if Guillermo has got enough in the tank to make a last-minute improvement, as this will be most likely his last real run. Got a very good exit out of the end, but there you go, no improvement, and that is his session as good as a done. Is Hermé, who's switched over to the Porsche. So no longer running the NSX like Lindblom did. So Lindblom is the sole NSX of the field, I do believe now. As the field has become a little bit more homogenized compared to last season. We don't see as many experimental picks. I'm not really seeing... I'm not really seeing, like, for example, the Lexus and the Audi. Those would stand out. Experimental picks, and we don't really have that as much, at least not from what I've seen yet. You can see Hermé gets him into P3 with a 16.4, but he's not going to go again. That was his full commitment, that was his time. Let's see how Colin McNair does. Now, he was a driver who was notorious for bringing back the positions in the race, even if his qualifying didn't quite go his way. Though that being said, he could stand to gain a lot here with a good bus stop. Qualifying is over. Where's he going to jump? He's up into P15 with a 2:17.4. So not quite the pace of the top end, though he's in fact an entire second and a half away. But he is, as we said, a driver who can bring it back in the race. So that's what we're going to really be looking for. Last couple of cars around the field, as there's Cutler, Marsh, Linata still on the track, as well as many others who are working to finish their times and sessions up. No improvement for Marsh. Let's see how the rest of the field is doing. Jimmy Engdahl switching away from the Nismo when we last saw him, and in, albeit with the same Monster Energy livery, in the McLaren. We know that him and Lindblom have worked together in the past. They have formed a bit of a sort of pseudo team, as we see one of the cars go off to the side. I believe that was Björklund, so he's going to be at best P5. And we'll then see the last of the field now make their way across the line as the session is about to draw to a close. A little bit of skittishness on the exit of the bus stop chicane. He's lost a ton of time there, and in the end has cost himself any chance at a P6 or P7. No improvement there, unfortunately for him. Johan Larsson heads into the pits, as we do see Peter Wolfslander get himself into 5th position. Kais Lang, one of the last cars to come across. I believe another fresh face joining with the Pixel Pilots team. And there you go. Now we have got the session complete, and what a showing it has been. Let's go through everything in full perspective, and let's see exactly what we have got going for us here. So, without further ado, your full order, folks, is going to be top 3 from each class, that being Frederick Guillemard with a 2:15.9, Maximilian Grosges with a 2:15.960. Only other car to get into the 15s, with Lindblom trailing at a 16.4, but still putting up quite the fight. Moving on to the silvers now, it's going to be Nick Coolen, really setting an early punch up in terms of his pace, as he's really put himself slap bang in the middle of the gold class. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him move, depend on his race performance. Second place is going to be Derek Hall with the McLaren, likewise, with the Prince of Widow's Peaks adorning his car. And then Pedro Serrano in 3rd position, seeing himself in much stronger form coming into Season 11 and in the silvers. Finally, looking a little bit further down the order and looking at the rest of the field in bronze, is going to be Helge Olsen, who is actually taking pole position for bronze this time out with a 2:19.2. I can see why you needed to step out to calm the nerves. Failing that in second, we have got Craig Niesbet in the Mercedes AMG, returning in a familiar car, and a 10th behind with a 2:19.3, followed by Anil Thurtson with a 2:19.465 in the Porsche. And then we had 2 cars, Michael Ball and Frank Tennant, who don't tend to be fans of setting times in qualifying, but let's give the full rundown, let's give the full grid walk, of course, and see what we have to work with. Let's take things, of course, in full order. It's Frederick Guillemard who takes pole position, closely followed by Maximilian Grosges in the front row in the Ferrari. It's a Wolfpack front row lockout once again. Lindblom in the 888, Honda NSX, sorry, and Oscar Herme in the Porsche this time in the 169. Matthias Lang with a great opening and in P5 alongside Peter Wolfslander in the 196 Wolfpack Ferrari, with the 444 of Björklund in P7 alongside Johan Larsson in his McLaren once again. Good to see him back in that thing. With Jimmy Engdahl and Matthias Holmberg closing out the top 10 in the golds. Nick Cullen, leader of silver, is going to be breaking up the order in the 51 McLaren, and James Payton returning in his classic AMG in the 248. Loris O'Wiggle, another new face, alongside Sean O'Neill. So it's the newcomers who are going to be hopefully making a bit of a splash out there tonight. McNair is in his number 13 Nismo, alongside a freshly painted and revamped Justin Cutler in the 35 Nismo as well. Patrick Larson switching to Ferrari this season with the 230, and then Dave Marsh in the NSX with the number 27. Lenatus out of his Audi R8 in the number 12 in P19, and Derek Hall completes our top 20 in the number 14 McLaren. Pedro Serrano in the 212 BMW alongside like-minded BMW of Ostrachaz in the number 74. Damien Reed in 979, and is that Teto? That caught me off guard, trying to recognise what it was. 90 of McLaren, that is going to be Paul Murray. And then Chris Wilson in P25. Branislav Visharek once again in his Ferrari in the number 26 spot, with Simon Aid and Wayne Bowler in the number 25 Aston and 123 Ferrari respectively. Completing your up to positions 30, it's Alex North in the 207 not McLaren, Aston Martin there. And then Randy Zimmer in his orange Ferrari once again. Craig Morrison in the 213 BMW alongside Rich Arscombe in the number 76 Aston Martin. Eero Vasuri once again in his Porsche. It's a classic and has never deviated, all the better for it, with Helge Olsen in the 949 Lamborghini. Robert Homer in the number 6 Porsche as well once again, in Craig Niesbet in the Mercedes AMG, and Neil Thurdsson in the Porsche P37, Peter Smith in the 113 McLaren, Roger Dismukes in the 420 Porsche, and then Ibrahim Diekman in the 40 spot, number 19 Porsche as well. Last couple of places now is John Aid in the number 9 McLaren, Andy Trickett in the 115, we'll say runner-up in last season, alongside Diekman, who got a very strong victory, Johan Teteru, and then Michael Ball and Frank Tennant. See the sole Bentley on the field once again. He switched from pink to green this season, and certainly is a stylistic change. But now we're on board the helicopter as everyone is going to get into formation. For those that are new, 60 minutes racing here tonight, folks, and within that there are a couple of key conditions. Firstly, with the race itself, you have got a mandatory pit stop. However, this is fuel only. So a lot of drivers tend to take this around the 30-minute mark, try and optimize their pit stops to be as even as possible. But we have seen in the past that drivers have taken very long early stints, gone for a splash and dash towards the end, or had to adapt their strategy in response to chaos on the race circuit. The main other thing to keep in mind is that this is effectively multi-class, so we have 3 classes of drivers, so drivers need to strategize who they want to fight, who they want to challenge, and whether keeping up competition with a driver that is of a different class than you, whether it's worth it. How hard you need to fight and are willing to fight. Ultimately, it comes down to whoever's defending, whether they're going to let, let's say, a faster class of car through or a different class of car through. And on the attacker's side, how much you want to commit to a move. That is going to be a very big deal. Making sure you hit that balance perfectly. Here we are, we have 45 cars lining up on this racetrack. Best of luck to everyone out there on this course, as everyone's going to now get into fighting positions, get themselves ready to go racing. So get the temps in those tyres, get yourself into formation speed, and then we will soon be going racing. I'm quite excited to see how this one goes down. I'm curious to see how our previous season champions are going to be handling this race circuit, as we do have, of course, a few different racers who have had a couple of shuffle rounds, who have had a couple of, we call it changes in their competitive environment. Take, for example, Visharek is, despite being the champion of Silver last season, he remains in Silver for this one. So a question that will get answered over time is whether this is going to be another sweeper for Visharek, or whether it will have steeper competition in this one. You can see everyone lining up double file, coming out of the bus stop chicane. And then we will see the track go green, the track go hot, and the racing commence. Been a little bit of a wait. And I truly do hope in the bottom of my heart that it's been worth it. I know it will be once we get those drivers racing and once we see them all give it everything they have got. So, for the opening round of the 11th season, and for the, I believe, 6th or 7th season in a row that I've been here, the track is hot for SPA Francorchamps, and we are away. The season has begun. Let's go racing, and immediately the teeth are bared as you see double file into Eau Rouge and Radion. Nobody is waiting a second, as everyone is going to be in chaos, trying to get some early space, get some early openings, and get those positions locked down fast. Visharek drops down. As you can see, drivers are all the way down the Camel Straight, going to be fighting, squabbling, contact made. That is going to be Colin McNair backwards around this track, as Coolan is also going to be impacted by a on-track collision. Multiple cars getting swapped up and swamped in a massive collision. You can see the Camel Straight is looking more like a carbon fiber minefield out there. Let's going to waste no time. Let's jump into our replay and let's get on the helicopter. Let's see exactly what happened. So you can see, just winding back the clocks, see McNair on the recovery, but there's 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. There's Visharek, there's Zimmer. There is all manner of chaos. Luckily, nobody's on their roof today. I gotta say, at least there is that. Nobody has ended up on their roof today, but still, look at some of the damage that our drivers have suffered. And there's already a hefty amount of casualties around this car, around this car racing series. We have 4 cars already in the pit lane. Visharek, Coolan, McNair, and Visuri. They're all casualties of that massive first lap incident. Let's just check in one more time. Let's try and get a bit of an alternate perspective. This is Visuri right now, so trying to see exactly what happened. You can see there is going to be one of the cars. I believe that's Murray slamming off the side out of Eau Rouge and Radion. Just trying to get a sight line through the trees. We emerge, unfortunately, say Coolan and McNair is going to collect up Visharek. Visuri goes into the grass, and you could just see that Olsen and so many other cars, like a concertina effect. It's just all hell broke loose on that race circuit down the Camel. Unfortunate to see, as we were hoping for a fairly clean opener, but you can see that drivers are going to be wasting no time getting themselves in that pit lane ASAP. As you can see, more chaos has erupted. There's Reed and Thirdson having a collision, and that could be calling it time for many of the drivers already. Chaos has erupted. Diekman, Murray, Homer, Zimmer, Aid, all in the pits already. Anarchy has struck. But for the racers that remain, this is where things get interesting. We've had the first lap of chaos. Strategies have been compromised, and oh, big kick on the rear axle. You can see Linata sliding over the Lecombe chicane completely. Those rear tyres airborne. Rough innings so far for Linatus, as well as I think he's maybe having a bit of a difficulty struggling to adjust to that Nismo. Say the Audi, that's the platform that he's run for a long time now. So, as the case with many racers who have switched cars for this season, there's going to be an adjustment. There's going to be bedding in, because
balance of performance aside, these cars handle very differently. Take, for example, the Porsche. The Porsche is a car, if we can find him, let's find Hermé. It's a car that you can wield to great success, but you have to be so wary of the slip angle, given the car has a bit of a rearward weight bias. You have to be so careful of the rear end. You have to account for a little bit of slip angle. You can take slip angle, but the biting point is so aggressive. Once you go over that point of no return, there's no saving it. You can see Hermé is going to go for chancing it. He's going to try and get round Wilson, because Wilson is a major barrier to his advancement in gold standings. So you can just see how aggressive he's trying to go. He's darting to the left, to the right, and everywhere in between. Here's through La Source. Wilson is actually going to do a good defensive job and just place his car right where the Porsche does not want him to be. He's holding his line, holding firm. Eau Rouge, Radion trying to get a little bit of a better run. You can see scraping and skirting off a little bit of speed, just slightly off out of the exit, down the Kemmel Straight now. The Porsche is going to be pushing hard for it and has got the apex heading into the end of the straight. Managed to get that position advantage, but can he hold on to it? Looks like he will do just that. Car's looking suitably battered, given the previous scenario, but you can see now coming out of the pit lane, it's a wave of cars having had minute-plus pit stops and already chaos. Oh no, Diekman! Just as soon as you come out the pit lane, you get tapped and into the wall again. I'd be fuming if that was me. Absolutely fuming there. Looks like we have said goodbye to Damien Reed as well. We are down now to 44 cars on the circuit. So that has been a bit of an unfortunate circumstance. There's unfortunate circumstances there. But we do see a couple of other racers trying to make up for some lost time now that they have got themselves back onto the order. See what these racers have got in store for us now. Derek Hall is a bit on the chase. You can see a lot of the field at the front end have started to space them out quite significantly, as Guillemard is just completing lap 3. There's a couple of seconds between himself and Liam Blom, and that's probably going to be a fight that ignites itself in the second half of the race primarily. Soon to be confirmed whether that championship fight will be reignited this season. Just how much Liam Blom wants that title back. Here's a car heading out of the pit lane as well. Drivers have to be so careful coming onto the Kemmel Straight because of the amount of speed difference between those who are coming out of the pit lane and themselves just coming out of Radion. You see Larson. I'm curious to see how Larson does here as well. Larson is a bit of an interesting case for me. I saw him emerge as a competitor towards the latter end of earlier seasons in terms of the championship, but his form stumbled a little bit in seasons after he switched to the Mustang. And we did see some flashes of the old Larson back, so last season he got 3rd place on his opener and 2nd place on the last round, so the Wolfpack energy was certainly strong there, but hopefully we get to see with him back in the McLaren, back in the same car that he used to pose such a title threat with, we'll hopefully see him back at top form. That's one thing I am very much looking forward to, is the new dynamics that we'll see on that course. See, Serrano has got a bit of his own fight as he's fighting for the lead of silver right here. And Craig Niesbet looking like he is the leader of bronze at this point in time. He's managed to get himself quite a hefty gap between himself and Dismukes in second. And in a crazy turn of events, Frank Tennant, throughout the chaos, has emerged in third. So we'll of course check in on those drivers momentarily, but Niesbet has just been challenged and passed by Larson in his gold v bronze, so I think it's wiser to let him go and maybe use him as a bit of a tow. So here's Serrano going for the challenge. He's got the aspirations of the lead of the group and he's going to challenge for it. Wilson is going to try and go defensive out of La Source, but just a better exit from the BMW. That sets himself up very nicely for Oderouche. He's got the nose out ahead. Can he hold it though? That's the question. Can he hold his nerve? Wilson does tend to scrub a bit of speed up this section of the course, so he's going to have to play this in his favour, but he's got the slipstream, so can the Aston pull this back? We'll have to find out if he's got the speed within him. He's a bit later on the brakes. He's watching that BMW, seeing where he places it. Trying to figure out what he'll do, but Serrano looks to be running with this one. And he has certainly got quite the advantage. It's a shame that we won't get to see Kulin at his best. We have also said goodbye to Visharek on the course. But we are down to 43 cars at this point in time. Yeah, Kulin down in P38 after a 2.5 minute pit stop. It's unfortunate times as what could have been a standout silver debut has quickly turned to ruin. Very much on the hunt here. Like many other racers, say Hermé down in P13 right now, and maybe struggling to adjust to that Porsche because he's much lower than we're used to seeing him. He was, keep in mind folks, last season Hermé was a strong contender. He only ended up P11, but we have seen him go toe-to-toe with pace with the likes of Lindblom and other champions, other top racers. His pace is there, but it's not showing itself here right now. He has managed to get a jump on Cutler though, so we are going to hopefully see him start making some moves forward. See, here is Peter Smith. They're going to be running strong. See, the number 28, so trying to tee up something on Michael Bull with the other car that did not set a qualifying time, but has benefited greatly from keeping himself out of trouble. Just trying to see as well who is if we've got both of the Smiths here in the championship like last season. Just trying to see in our listings. They are both running. See Smith managing to get the run on Bull and being quite efficient in his tactics, as Alex North is going to be dropping a position to Patrick Larson. He's trying to chase his way down. There's Ostrachaz as well, who is on the hunt for the tail of Wilson, having lost a position to Serrano and already losing a good chunk of time. There's now another BMW flavoured threat on the horizon. Hermé is going to be pushing up now on Sean O'Neill too. Greg Morrison heads into the pits. We have had over 10 drivers go into the pits already within the first 15 minutes. That's unprecedented. Just to the amount of chaos that we saw in lap 1. Just a testament to that. can see Ostrachel's just try and tee up his car. Coming out of the bus stop chicane, and it just did not quite happen. You can see Hermé, meanwhile, going hot on the challenge. Is Sean O'Neill's on his inside in the Mustang. Will there be any fight from the GT3 car? You can see he's going to actually yield a little bit. He's going to let Oscari through. And I think that was a chase turning into a case of survival. And as much as I would normally challenge this kind of thing as allowing it to go too easily, I think that was actually quite smart from Sean. I think going side by side into Eau Rouge and Raidillon, it's not as good move. It usually ends in tears. So I think even in the short term, losing the position, meaning that you make it to the end of the race, I think that was a survival move, and I think that was the better call. Tactical decision making there. Ostrachel's has got the move out of the Kemmel straight, so now Wilson is pushed down into third. And Nisbet is going to be continuing to hold on to the lead for bronze in a bit of a turn of events. So Nisbet came down from silver into bronze for this season, and looks like he's actually holding his own in this field. The 12th out of 15 in silver last season. Might be the chance to change his fortunes. And it gets some points for himself on that board compared to last season's performance. Unfortunately, Sean's earlier move has put him in a different kind of challenge now, as while he's still within a second to Marsh and Hermé, as Hermé has actually passed Marsh now. Cutler is now looming in the rear view mirror of the Mustang and is very much hungry to make a move. See Marsh returning in his NSX, having switched to it during last season out from the Porsche, and seems to have adjusted to the platform quite well. He has been fairly consistent and has run rather well with it thus far. You see a little bit of traffic crossover as Eero emerges from the pits. A couple more cars are going to go in, namely Lorenzo Wiggle and Helge Olsen. They both jump into the pits now, and you can see here is the purple Pixel Pilot's car. Slowly making their way around the pit lane. But let's see what this race has got in store for us now that we are coming into the next 20 minutes. I've got to say, track is looking absolutely lovely out here tonight. 29 degrees surface temps. Those tyres are going to be absolutely glued to the asphalt. Meanwhile, 21 ambient is going to mean that cooling may be a concern if you're pushing it too hard or even slipstream for too long. But there's nothing a quick dip out into some clean air can't fix. There you can see a lot of cars are now just trying to find a bit of room. It's not necessarily at this stage of the race about going for wheel-to-wheel combat. It's more about finding a position and being able to just lock in some clean miles without interruptions. Because that's going to set you up well for the pit stop, and that's when you can start baring the teeth once again. Take, for example, Guillemot. Right now, he has consistently had Liam Blom about 2 seconds adrift in his rearview mirror. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to push more than 2 seconds, it just needs to be consistent. And Liam Blom, meanwhile, is trying to sort of match the pace as best as he can. They're both running in 17s, and they're both running similar fastest times around the course. So it's just about maintaining parity, and then you can start pushing the envelope later in the race. You've still got plenty of time. There we can see what the racers are planning as we check in on them throughout this run. Serrano on the back of a Cutler now, so he's not content with taking down the likes of Wilson, but is also going to be challenging on the space of the gold drivers. Maybe he wants to get put back in the group. This is his initiation. Like we said, there will be adjustments to rankings and to classifications based on performances from the first couple of rounds. I'm not sure when the official adjustment period ends. I believe it is after round 2. But we'll need an official confirmation on that. It most likely will be by round 2, then the divisions will be very much locked. You can see a tight pack of racers. And certainly got a lot to prove. I mean, I'm looking right now at Coulin. I think Coulin really has had a chance snubbed from underneath him here. And oh no! Just as we say that, he goes and for a bit of a slide through Bruxelles, he's into no name, and just like that, dashed any chances of being able to gain back up time, because that aero damage is going to cost you big time. Especially some of the higher speed corners that we have here at Spa. Or for example, here's Trickett. Onto the back of Peter Smith. Derek Hall is going to be heading into the pits now with, say, 38 minutes left to go. And Johan Lawson is challenging on fellow Wolfpack driver Björklund for P5. I gotta say, I do like as well how he's kept that iconic black and red colour scheme that he always ran with the McLaren back before the Wolfpack switch. It's a nice little callback. It's a very nice callback, that. See Derek Hall in the pits there. You can just see on the infield. Here's Frank Tennant, who has actually impressed here by being in P3, despite not getting a qualifying lap done at all. Gotta say, that chrome green on that Bentley there. It's certainly a striking colour choice. It's very striking. And also continuing to run the Bentley after seasons of doing so. There's a commitment. But that Bentley, it is a bit of a boat, but if you can wrangle that boat, it is capable of some immense speed. Now, I think that's the priority here. It's just get that car under control, keep it under control. We'll see Teteru going a little bit wide there, misjudging your entry into Bruxelles. As that is going to be, I believe that's either Thirdson or Dickman at a lap ahead. And currently in the rear view mirror. Yes, so that is going to be Dickman there. Yeah, Teteru has no reason to yield at this point, because if anything, it would be the other way round that blue flags would apply. So I'm going to keep them in their rear view. Here's Larson once again going for the challenge on Björklund right now. So for anyone feeling upset about missing this race. Don't worry, we've got a whole nother 7. So don't feel too disheartened. Simon P38 in the Aston. And with many cars on this field, it is more or less about recovery. It's not so much about outright finishing position. It's more specifically a race of attrition for many here. Cullen, 2 pit stops deep, was pegged to be the winning car with silver, but now I think even just making it to the end of the race in decent time will be a solid turnout given the circumstances prior. Sean O'Neill, Michael Ball, both into the pits now. They're going to be taking their stops and meaning it so that there's about half of the field who has still yet to take it, but in about 5 minutes or so we will see that balance drastically change. Yeah, not to mention the carnage that was lap 1 here at Spa. And I don't think that it's necessarily something you wanted to be here for. I mean, to watch, it is absolute chaos, it's entertainment, it's content, but to be a driver in the middle of that is your race ruined. You can see Serrano is really just trying to keep that space and keep Cutler close within a second. That will be his strategic endgame. Make sure that he keeps a certain other car at bay. You can see there is the Nismo between them. But yeah, this is the car that he's trying to keep at bay. This is Ostrachar's right here. 1.7 seconds. That is going to be the big old question. So Loris is going to be splitting the 2, but he's a lap down. So they'll be looking to gain back on strategy a little bit later on. Because remember, they have taken the pit stop at this stage. God, I love that livery. Side note, and anyone who's had me in the commentary box or listened to my broadcasts from the previous seasons, they'll know all too well how much I'm a sucker for a good livery, especially with good colours. And yeah, this one ticks the boxes. This definitely ticks the boxes for me. See a little bit of chaos. As we do see a couple of cars now going in and out of the pits. That's going to make the entry out of Radion into the Camel Straight a little bit interesting. Rick has got some helpful messages for those who decide to get too close to his frontal rear. And I'm sure those will be certainly heeded as you're about to get into a bit of a squabble with Peter Smith. A couple more cars looking to get some angles up on position, but at this point in time, I mean, look, a good chunk of the gold class of cars have now pulled the trigger and going in now. So we have 7 cars out of that top order who are heading in. It's going to be Lindblom, Larson, Holmberg, Herme, Cutler, Serrano, and Wilson all jumping into the pits, and it's going to be making things interesting for sure. We've got a lot of cars who are staying out a lap longer. So GMR, Grosges, Wolfslander, Björklund, Peyton, Marsh, Ostrachar's all staying just that little bit longer. And no doubt we will see more cars heading in soon. Most likely next lap, like we said. 30-minute mark. As close to the 30-minute mark as you can. That's the ideal pit stop point for most racers. We're dying to see what this race has got in store for us all. So let's have a quick look and take full stock of the field. Now that we see more cars heading into the pits, we see our race leader heading into the pits. Grosgaz, interestingly, is not. So he's going to temporarily take top honours and take the lead of this one as Homburg comes out of the pits now. But let's take a quick look at who is at the front. So it's Grosgaz, Guillemard and Wolfslenner, although Guillemard is set to drop as Björklund, Payton are coming in, but not everyone is at this point in time. You can see Marsh is staying out. Meanwhile, Ostrachaz is going to be heading in, who was otherwise the leader of Silver. So that is going to pass the mantle to Alex North, unless he heads into the pit lane as well, and then Arscombe in P3. Following that, you have in the bronze side of the aisle, it's going to be Niesbet, Dismukes and Tennants, first, second and third, as we do have a fairly split grid because you've got drivers who have and haven't taken their pit stops, and bifurcating the grid like this is going to create some interesting dynamics, shall we say. But there we are, hunting down crucial seconds. The big question mark, the big asterisk is where this is going to leave the others who have already taken stops. Typically, we do see an undercut be a bit of a power move because it allows you to get a bit of an opening and get you some crucial time back that you would have lost trying to chase your opponent. But let's see what timings that we have as Lindblom is going to make his way round through La Source. And the big question is, where will Guillemard be? He's going to be coming out of the pits now. Is he going to beat Lindblom? Is he going to stay ahead of Lindblom? As you can see, he's just coming down the hill now towards Eau Rouge. He still has to keep pit timing. He still has to keep the pit speed until he exits that lane officially. And he's going to remain ahead. That is going to be crucial here because that is Wayne Bowler in P33. I thought that was Lindblom for a second, but no. He's actually going to split the two. So 2 seconds remains between our top racers in gold class as the majority of the field has headed in. Wolfslenner is going to come into the pit now. Grosgaz is going to stay out once again. And now it's just a short handful of cars who have yet to stock up on some fresh fuel and potentially tyres. Tyres are optional in all of this. That's another thing to be worth noting for. Linatus is going to stay out. There is going to be Patrick Larson, you just saw in the background there. Yes, a last couple of cars coming in. As a Guillemard is going to retain that 2-second gap, and this is crucial. He's not lost any speed. He's not lost any advantage. And this is pretty much perfect. As Guillemard was, I think, gearing up to lose time. I think he was mentally gearing up to lose time there, but he has been blessed by the timing gods. Tennant, Niesbet, North, Larson, Wolfslenner all in the pit lane. Again, it's last sets of racers as we do see a lot of the field now spacing out. Now, this is sometimes what happens. When you have a track as large as this, inevitably you're going to have drivers who are spacing out from each other. You're not really going to be wanting to share track space. And if you do, you want to evacuate that track space of the other car as quickly as possible. Like, for example, you can see here, Peter Smith, he's going to be yielding out of the way of drivers who are at the top end of things, and is in fact going to be bumping over the Combe chicane and trying to stay out of trouble and not impact the other racers too much, but inevitably it did impact a little bit as Lindblom has to compromise his line. It could be a lot worse, but it's still going to be a couple of tenths that have been lost. A lot of chopping and changing as drivers are going to be in and out of the pit now. We're going to see a lot more representative of a timing board. Dismuquet being the last car in bronze to set himself to the pit lane. That is going to be pretty interesting because that is going to reveal Nisbet as the true leader of bronze, despite now being out of the pit and previously being split. This is going to, of course, change things up here. There's Loris coming through and across. 14 laps deep and hopefully looking to catch up to the likes of Larson, O'Neill, etc. As it's been tough innings. As said before, tough innings for many racers on the grid. And not looking the best for some of the racers. I think this is going to be an opening round to forget for many. Not one that they'll soon forget, but one that they wish they maybe could. Although time is going to very soon be of the essence. It will be a challenge. Rosges coming out of the pits as Marsh goes in. Only Dismuquet and Linatus remaining. You can see Hermé is challenging for the space. As he's still around in the P11, P12 realm. He's not really made much forward progress since we last saw him. That could be for a variety of reasons. You can see he's trying to tee himself up for some space. Just trying to tee himself up, and it's just not happening. It's just not happening yet. Now, curiously, Dismuquet has actually been overtaken by Guillemard and is in Lindblom's path at this point. So, I just wonder, is that going to be coming at a bad time or a good time? As Lindblom is rapidly catching. And in fact, Dismuquet is going to struggle through some of these corners, and Lindblom's very much eking to get by. You can see darts to the left, then darts to the right, and is firing his way down the outside of Blanchimont. I think there's going to be a tiny bit of yield there from Dismuquet to allow him to go by. And I also think he just can't hold the speed anyway in that corner. See, jumping on the brakes, he's starting to get overtaken by drivers who have pitted, and I think this might be his signal. Although he remains committed. He remains committed nonetheless. Simon is heading into the pits for the second time now. And is going to join those at the back of the field who have had to do similar. Like, for example, Colin. Now, Colin I do feel for here. He has had a race of ages in terms of, say, could have had a chance to go strong, but getting macerated by that lap 1 conflict. They're getting absolutely macerated by the collisions that we saw at the start. And never really recovered since. The Linatus finally heading into the pit lane now after an extended stint early on. He almost brings it full 40 minutes away. Let's see what these racers can do. So here is Ostrishars right now. Trying to get a bit of a run on Cutler. Now we did see before there was a bit of squabbling between himself and Cyrano, but Cyrano has actually dropped back a bit. Looks like he had a slightly longer pit stop than the others and got leapfrogged, which I do find interesting because his pit stop time was longer, but his actual stop was shorter. That means he must have lost time in the pit lane along the line somewhere, or had a slow entry or slow exit. Something went wrong either way, and that has not blessed his chances. Here you go, here's Dismukes finally heading into the pits, the last driver to do so, and with that everyone has now pitted in. It is going to be Hermé going for a challenge on that top 10. He's going to be pushed up to P9, but he wants to make that even further. He wants to make it that P8. Holmberg is in his crosshair. Holmberg is going to be on the defensive as much as one can. It's all about car placement here. He can get the slipstream, but will he be able to use and execute off of it? Both taking slightly different lines out of Radion into Kemmel and down the straight. Now let's see if they're going to be any kind of defensive driving coming from the Aston. Looks like he's going to be committed to his line. And Hermé take a brief peek down the inside before eventually deciding against it. You can see Dismukes is going to go through. And down into P20 now. But Hermé is going to stay the course, stay committed. Lienblom has lost time to Guillemard as well. It's about 4 seconds now. Bit of a rough innings for the challenger of the championship. Of course, Guillemard is not coming into this position as the challenger. He's now coming in as the defender of this season. So the dynamic, the expectations, and the game has changed. In his side of the fence, it's going to be a little bit harder to manage. Both on the count of expectation, but also the success ballast may prove to be a bit of a linchpin in any plans that he might have. And that success ballast will affect his racing. Depending on results, drivers will have additional weight placed into their car in order to bring a bit of balance and make sure that drivers don't completely run away with the championship once they get some early momentum. Designed to be a bit of a self-balancing, and ballast can be removed as well as added depending on your results throughout this season. You might see some drivers who consistently do well have up to 40 kilograms of additional success ballast compared to drivers who might float around that top end, get an additional 5 or 10 but be able to lose it just as quickly. O'Neill and Serrano going for a bit of combat through the bus stop chicane. Contact on the inside as O'Neill is going to be trying to defend the position. It's Mustang v BMW. You can see a little bit further up there as well. Diekman is proving to be a bit of a headache for a certain Justin Cutler, as Ostrishars is further up the road by 1.5 seconds. Hermé also going for the challenge down the Kemmel straight. You can see he's trying to jump on the brakes just that little bit later. Holmberg, out of survival, has to jump onto the brakes and lose a lot more speed, allowing Hermé to get the move into P8. So nicely done from the Porsche, but of course is going to be a bit frustrated, I'm sure. Lenatus being one of the last drivers to pit in. That means he's going to technically be in the freshest state heading into this last 15-minute stint of the race. He's going to quickly put that to good use with an attack on Wilson. So P16 right now, but has still got some work to do. You've got Ostrishars up in P12. and Serrano in P15. Those are silver class cars, and those are a problem because that's an additional buffer between him and gaining on his respective teams. Let's see what Patrick Larson has in store as well. Johan Larson currently in P5 as well, so this is nice to see. Johan is in that fighting form once again. P7 last season. Hopefully a sign of good things to come. Grosgaz, meanwhile, in the pits, which is a little bit concerning because he was otherwise in really good spirits and really good form. Either a penalty or something else has gone on here. Serrano is continuing his challenge on Sean O'Neill. Let's see what he does into La Source. He tries to tuck it narrow and get later on the brakes, but can't tee it up. O'Neill is going to be right there. He dips to the right, he dips to the left. He's looking for any kind of chance he has. O'Neill is really placing his car in an awkward spot for the BMW. Good defensive driving from Sean there. So we're going to see, is there going to be a defensive move? He places his car towards the inside. He makes sure the slipstream can't be utilised effectively. Serrano has no choice but to dip to the outside, hope that he can get a bit of a better run through Lecom. And it's just not material. This is some great defense from O'Neill here. Let's just stick on board with the Mustang and see exactly how he places his car, exactly what he does. Watch where he points the car. Pre and post corner. So you can see he's really sweeping across the racing surface. He's taking maximum width. He's trying to maximize his exits and leave Serrano with no room to really budge. You can see he goes very narrow and oh, big slide from Serrano. It's just pressure and pressure. Kind of being reflected back. So previously being under massive threat, and now Serrano's dropped down to 1.5 seconds of gap. Now that's gap that he could get back, but it's not going to be easy going at all. There we are, down 42 cars now as John Aid is going quite slow on the racetrack, I've got to say. That was a little bit concerning there. Makes me wonder if there was something technical issue related going on that circuit. Quite impressed with how all of these drivers have done here. Now, Spa is a difficult circuit, so I'm very pleased to see the amount of turnout and the amount of impressive driving that we've had on this circuit to open this season with. Even if it is a shorter season, I think it's going to be just as action-packed, just as frenetic. And I'm looking forward to seeing the championship fights that are inevitably going to brew as the sessions and seasons continue. Big point of contention is that gold, whether there is going to be a resurgence of Alain Blom following the loss last season, or if there will be a new crowning talent that lords the championship title for seasons to come. There we are, dealing with multi-season champions at the peak of their game right now. So you've got a lot of expectation on those shoulders. And those shoulders are going to be heavy. Smith chasing on Homer. So looking at a quick run through. Nisbet, Dismukes and Tennant are going to be your top 3 for bronze so far. Looking at silver, it's going to be Ostrachaz with Serrano and Wilson. And then at the top, it's going to be Guillemard, Lindblom and Wolfslander. The Wolfpack 1 and 3, and then Lindblom independent in second. With 10 minutes to go, time is running out to make any kind of concerted or challenged moves. Big winner here though, Hermé. Hermé has fought his way up. Remember, we saw him before MP13, I believe. And now he's in 6th. So he's done a tremendous job, actually, of gaining up time. We previously thought that he stagnated around the halfway point of the race, but not the case at all. Looks like he was only just getting started. Field is buzzing with energy right now. And we have more drivers who we haven't even seen today, who will get introduced to hopefully round 2. More drivers on that field. But again, only time will tell how this championship tees up. Now, we do have some information about the 134 car. That's right here, that's Grosges. So he was clearing a drive-through penalty, most likely for track limits infractions. So that is why he went into the pits for a second time. That's why he's been dumped out in P17 behind the rest of the field. Not looking good for him there, but at least it was only a drive-through. It could have been a lot worse. Could have been stop and go. And that could have introduced even more calamity to this season opener. We've got about 4 laps left to go. We're about 22 laps deep, according to our leaders, in the front end of things. And 3 casualties throughout the course of the race today. Now, it is always the case that we don't see everyone make it home. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes in racing. So that's why we see some drivers who are prioritizing their survival over objective peak pace. Teteru down in P33 right now and struggling a little bit with his positioning on the course, as he has gone all the way to the outer edge of Paul Frere. So even in Blanchimont, he does take a bit of a wider gate out of the exit of that corner. I really do think that it's just he's not quite set up and he's not quite got the confidence in the car. You can see there's a big pace deficit with that Ferrari. And things aren't looking like they're fully hooked up. So I think he needs a bit of time in the dyno, a bit of time in the testing facility, just to get him and that car working more in tandem. That's his biggest issue right now. There must be a fundamental disconnect. And that fundamental disconnect is killing his chances of a successful season. We'll hopefully see how that transpires. If we do get to see the Teteru that we hope for, let's have a look and see what this field is doing now. Dismukes in second place for bronze right here, so he's had a strong showing. Now, Desi was an interesting one because he was 3rd place in Season 10, and he's hopefully going to be one of the pro tags for the championship here in Season 11. Now, he's got the pace for sure, and he has shown that. It's just always been, as with many drivers in the bronze, the downfall has not been the abject pace, it's been the consistency. The reason Diekman got such a strong win last season in 10 is because he got 5 out of 10 races in a podium. 3 wins, 1 second, 1 third. Dismakers, by comparison, he got 1 win, 1 second, 1 third, and all the rest were middling finishes with some either no points or did not start. So it is just the consistency. And the consistency is going to be many drivers' undoing, but particularly bronze and silver. That is where most drivers often falter. So let's have a quick look in the field. So say Hall is 4th in silver at the moment. And then a couple of potential challenges teeing up as Linatus is trying to close in. Larson and Grosges are going to trade positions just below. With the Camel straight there. And say Serrano is going to be standing in the way of Linatus advancing with his respective group. So he's going to be a driver that he wants to displace, and fast, if he wants any chance of gaining positions back before the time runs out. 4 minutes to go. That's going to be about 2 laps, considering the leaders have just crossed over to lap 25 here. 24 laps completed. And 7 seconds between Lindblom and Guillemard, which is quite an astounding feat. I mean, look at the difference. So here is Guillemard. Meanwhile, Lindblom only just coming up to the top of the source. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. So, last few minutes on the docket, ladies and gentlemen. As always, hope you've enjoyed the racing that we've had here so far, and minus the lap 1 crash, hopefully we don't have that once again, but usually emblematic of a season to come. So we've had quite action-packed seasons in the past. We've had quite an interesting opener here as well. A lot of drivers trying and sort of silently making up positions as well in the background of the major fights. But by round 2 or 3, that's when we get a real idea of exactly who is placed where and who is going to be a driver to watch heading into the season championship battles. See, there is a pit stop for Derek Hall, and oh no, that's not good. That is Olsen. Olsen is round and is currently struggling to get that car out of Lecombe. See, he's sort of stuck it in the grass. Doesn't look like he's moving. What is going on? Oh no, he's managed to get it moving again. He's just waiting for a bit of a chance to spin round without penalty, without casualty. Okay, Olsen has made a recovery, albeit down to now the bottom of the field. They have done what they needed to do. Now the leader is on the final lap. We just got the call from race control, and so with that is going to come the conclusion of round 1. But don't forget, we have got an exciting calendar to come. We have got everything from, well, say we've got a bit of a chaotic next few rounds. It's Australia, then a double header in Italy. Then we travel a bit further around the world. We're going back to Belgium, then to Austria, and then a double run in to Kota to finish. So it's going to be good. Going to be a good season ahead, but in order to get to that point. First, we've got a couple of races left to go. And one driver has certainly planted their stamp of authority on this session. Now, we sometimes say that the best race is a quiet one where you don't have to fight, you don't have to constantly be engaged with other cars, one where you can just relax, focus in, and let the driving do the talking. Let the speed do the work. And Guillemard has had such a race, such an opener here. He has not had any credible challenge. He was starting in P1, he's ended in P1, and barring pit stop changeover, hasn't been touched in any kind of meaningful way or position. He is the championship defender, he is the reigning champion from Season 10, and he's certainly made it clear exactly why that was the case. So, coming up to the bus stop chicane now, Frederic Guillemard in the 208 Mustang, crossing the final couple of corners, and with that crossing the finish line to claim the checkered flag of the first round of SimSeniors Season 11. Congratulations, Guillemard. You are the car to beat for sure this season. Liam Blom is going to be tailing in 10 seconds later, but still a strong P2, with Peter Wolfslener coming up in third, a little bit further away as well, but likewise certainly stamping some authority in third place. Coming into fourth is going to be Johan Larsson with a strong return to form, and then Björklund in P5. Looking at the silvers, Adam Ostrichars is going to be our winner for silver class here, as we do have, of course, many drivers now crossing the line. There's going to be a deluge of cars soon to cross that start-finish line, but Ostrichars is going to be our top driver for silver. Immaculate job, and we will see a potential last-minute run from Serrano, maybe on Lenatus, but no, Lenatus has got ahead. He stayed ahead. Serrano is going to hold on to P2. And there's Chris Wilson just crossing over the final corner of the bus stop chicane and is going to come in for P3 of the silver. And then Alex North and Rich Arscombe in P4 and P5. Nisbet is going to be our bronze winner for today. Finally, last but certainly not least, as one can argue that the other classes are having just as, if not more, of a chaotic race, given that they are the slower group of the racetrack and have to deal with traffic trying to pass them by. But Nisbet is going to get a solid first place and solid opener to the season, with Disriquez in P2. And Frank Tennant, in a chaotic twist, is going to be in P3, although he's already left the session, so we can't focus in on his car. And that is where things are going to be coming to their close, most part, folks. And that is where the last drivers are going to be crossing the line momentarily. We will soon see the timing board clear, and there you are. So we did say goodbye to Visuri, Reed, and Vishrek, unfortunately, but that is going to do it for tonight's round of racing. Now, of course, don't forget, we did have a lot of chaos going on this racetrack, so it may not be fully representative, but it was certainly an indication of things potentially to come. Now, where do we go next round? Of course, it is going to be none other than Bathurst Mount Panorama, with such an iconic backdrop and such a high-stakes circuit. It's only fitting that we get ourselves into a bit of a rhythm when it comes to high-intensity tracks. We started with Spa, we've got Pano, and then we'll have an Italy doubleheader to close the first half of the season. But what an opener, folks, and this is where we're going to be going next time. So thank you, as always, for everyone watching these broadcasts and everyone supporting these broadcasts and everything we do here at SIMSeniors. If you do enjoy what we do over here, then on an independent front, be sure to support the team over at Driveline Media, say the broadcast providers for this season and prior seasons, as well as supporting SIMSeniors, making sure that you head over and you do like the stream. If you've enjoyed, you get on the YouTube channel, you subscribe if you want to keep on board with the season, and be sure to check out the Facebook as well as the Discord to get yourself involved if you wish. But that's going to be all from me, folks. That's going to be me signing out for now, and we'll see you next week, of course, as we head over to Mount Panorama for round 2. Take care, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and good night.